Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Judge.
Afternoon. Let's see. Ms. Bridgewater, what is the SAP reset date?
March the 28th.
All right. And where are we going to begin this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Judge. Whenever you're ready, we have position number 9, Miss Melissa Pennell.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ms. Pennell. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Pennell, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001469G with battery. Is there a history?
2017 simple battery arrest. Can you hold on for a minute? Hold on. Okay. Yeah, 2017 simple battery. 2020 arrest out of Ohio. Domestic violence, assault. 2 charges were dismissed. 2016 probation violation and assault conviction. 2015 criminal endangering, criminal damaging or endangering. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 counts of that, Judge. That was a conviction. This is all out of Ohio. 2013 attempted assault conviction and a 2013 violation of protection order that was dismissed. That's it.
Good afternoon, Ms. Lewis. Are you presenting?
Sorry, I thought I had unmuted. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
All right. So this incident occurred yesterday at the Atlanta Mission My Sister's house, which is located at 921 Howell Mill Road. Officers responded to a dispute call and upon arrival was told that the victim, Carla O'Nalty, and that's spelled O''Nalty, was having a seizure. Once Ms. O'Nalty recovered, she told officer that she's epileptic, and her episodes are triggered when she gets worked up. The victim stated the defendant was making a lot of noise and cursing where the children could hear her, so she told her, excuse my language, to shut the fuck up. The defendant got very aggressive and argued with everyone in the room, so one of the other roommates went to get the management. Once management arrived, the defendant pushed the management out the way and began fighting the victim. The victim suffered a bite mark and bruising on her right arm. Now, we were able to speak with the victim this morning. She said that this defendant is sometimes very unruly in the house, and she was arguing with one of the pregnant residents, which is why she told her to be quiet. And she also didn't want her to wake up any of the children nearby. She said she's afraid of this defendant and doesn't want her to return back to the shelter. Your Honor, the state will be recommending a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further contact, and to stay away from 921 Howell Mill Road. Nothing further. And we would like to sound for her at this time if she is on the line.
Okay. Ms. O'Nally, if you're on the line and you'd like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Good afternoon, Ms. Kim. Is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have any objections to anything that has been requested by the state?
No, we have no objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to take it through the jail instead of taking it through pretrial. So it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. O'Nally. Stay away from the Howell Mill Road address. I don't know if she has to go back to that address, but she can go back on one occasion if need be with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Pennell.
You done. Next, Your Honor, we got position number 14, Ms. Washington, Kayla Washington.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Washington. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Washington, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001479F with battery, cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. I've been informed by pretrial that this is Ms. Washington's first arrest. Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on January 30th, 2023 at 125 Milton Avenue. Officers responded to a fight call at this location and met with Dasha Charles. That first name is spelled D-A-S-H-A. Ms. Charles stated that the defendant's minor daughter, Zanaya Washington, which is spelled, or excuse me, Kanaya Washington, which is spelled K-A-N-I-Y-A-H, and her mother, Kathy Howard, came over to her house and jumped her. Charles stated that the incident began after the defendant's mother and Charles were in an argument on the phone. Later, Charles posted something online and the defendant and her mother assumed that the victim was talking about them. Charles stated that while she was in the restroom at her apartment, she heard someone knocking on the door, and before she could open the door, the defendant and her mother pulled her outside and started hitting and kicking her. Charles stated that one of the parties also pepper sprayed her, but she was not sure who did it. The defendant also encouraged her minor daughter to hit Charles as well. And then the defendant's daughter filmed the entire incident and posted it to Instagram. The defendant admitted to officers that she posted the fight video to Instagram. Your Honor, we were able to speak with the victim this morning. She said she has known the defendant and her mother for a long time and they were best friends. The victim stated that she posted something on Instagram, but didn't say that she was talking about them, but apparently the defendant assumed they were, or she was, which is why they came over and jumped her. She said she is in the process of filing a TPO. She sustained a cut on her hand and a busted lip. And now she's afraid or threatened by these people and doesn't want to see them anymore. For these reasons, Your Honor, the state will be recommending a $5,000 surety bond. That's $3,000 on count 1 and $1,000 each on count 2 and count 3. No further contact, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and to stay away from her home, which is actually located at 3606 Guinness Drive, apartment 6. Nothing further.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. LaPlata. I hope you're well.
I am well, thank you for asking. My client, Ms. Washington, is 33 years old. She is gainfully employed as an administrative assistant, and she has one daughter who is 12 years old, who she has been raising, and she is the primary custodian of that child. My client denies the allegations as stated by the prosecution. In fact, she tells me that the incident started when the alleged victim struck her daughter. She has known the alleged victim for quite some time, she tells me. Then they have been essentially like family. She said that the alleged victim tried to hit her mom and in the process hit her daughter. And that was when she tried to defend her daughter. She told me she essentially tried to pull her daughter away. She did not hit the alleged victim. This is what she tells me. She said her daughter did because the alleged victim struck her daughter. My client doesn't have any kind of record, Your Honor. She's never been arrested. So based on that, I would ask the court to give her a signature bond so she can get out of jail. The incident location, my client doesn't live there and really has no need to go there. So we would be okay with staying away from that particular location, and no further contact with the alleged victim is fine as well.
And Your Honor, we'd like to sound for Ms. Charles at this time if she's on the line.
Yes, I am.
Yes, Ms. Charles, if you are on the line and would like to address the court, I'll need for you to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I don't have to swear you in.
Can you see me?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand? The other right hand? Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I really don't have nothing to say because these folks was like my family. I never hit no child that came to my house that assaulted me in the video, as you see. So I'm not fighting back. me personally, I would never hit a child. I got 13 nieces and nephews. I never abused now one of them. And now it's like I don't have nothing else to say.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Charles. Let's see, for the battery, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. For the other two counts, it's going to be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Daisha Charles, and stay away from the Guinness Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to you, Ms. Washington. You're welcome, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Your Honor, did you say the other $2,000 was through the jail or pretrial? I'm sorry.
They are all through pretrial,
Okay, thank you.
all per the judge.
Next, Your Honor, we have position number 2, Ms. Tasha Dyer.
Good afternoon, Ms. Dyer. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Dyer, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001475Y with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
First arrest.
Afternoon, Ms. Bickerstaff.
Good afternoon, Judge. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. So, Your Honor, this incident occurred yesterday at 5401 Old National Highway in Atlanta. And it's where officers arrived to the location to respond to a physical altercation between the defendant and Tyler Hicks. The two have been residing at that location together since January of this year. And a dispute started because the defendant was on the phone with someone and Mr. Hicks snatched the phone out of the defendant's hand. Then the defendant proceeded to punch Mr. Hicks in the face. Mr. Hicks informed officers that he then began to restrain the defendant so that she could refrain from punching him. And while restraining the defendant, she then bit his left thumb. Mr. Hicks also told officers that because of the bite, it felt like his thumb was about to fall off. And officers observed lacerations on Mr. Hicks's face, forearm, and thumb. Both Mr. Hicks and the defendant were arrested. However, Mr. Hicks was released on a copy of the charges, Your Honor. The state is asking for a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. We're asking for a stay away order at the 5401 Old National Highway address. No further contact with Mr. Hicks, and a 1-day anger awareness course, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And also, I would like to sound for Mr. Hicks if he's on the Zoom.
Yeah, I do see Mr. Hicks there. Let's see. And before I go to Mr. Hicks, good afternoon, Ms. Holly. Is this your case?
Good afternoon. Yes, it is.
Okay. Would you like for me to hear from Mr. Hicks first, or would you like to present to the court first?
You can hear from Mr. Hicks first.
Okay, Mr. Hicks, since you were charged in this matter, let me just tell you, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you because you were charged. If you would like to address the court, know that there's a solicitor here that's listening to everything that you have to say if you're going to talk about this incident. So I would caution you in that regard, since you do have charges pending against you that stem from these charges. Okay. Given that, is there anything that you would like to tell the court?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Ms. Holly?
Yes, Your Honor. As was stated by the state, this is Ms. Dyer's first arrest, but this case there's a lot more detail in the police report that we haven't gone over, including the fact that Ms. Dyer told the officers that Mr. Hicks restrained her for 3 hours dragged her through the floor, and she did have drag marks on her legs, and that she was actually taken to Grady due to the severity of her injuries, had to receive a CT scan, and she has bruising to her throat because Mr. Hicks choked her so hard that she passed out during this fight. So we have already agreed with the state that this should be a signature bond. I believe his injuries speak more to Miss Dyer defending herself than they do to anything else. We would just ask for the anger awareness class to not be required. She is fine with the stay away and understands that she can have no more contact with Mr. Hicks. Her brother, who I spoke to, she can stay with him.
She need to go back to that location to retrieve any belongings?
I believe she will, and we would ask that that be done with an officer.
As such, it'll be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. No further contact at this time with Mr. Hicks. Stay away from the Old National Highway address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. It'll be a signature bond through pretrial per the judge. All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Dyer.
Next, Your Honor, we have position number 5, Ms. Mara Herrera. Position number 5.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Herrera. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Herrera, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001473G with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2020 battery. It was dismissed after PTI.
Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday morning at about 7 a.m. at 550 Abernathy Road Northeast. And this is where officers arrived in response to a dispute where the defendant admitting to scratching Mr. Herrera, the defendant's husband, she scratched him on his stomach, causing 2 bleeding lacerations. Our victim advocate was able to speak to Mr. Herrera today, and he informed her that this was not the first time something of this nature has occurred between them. A similar incident happened about 3 years ago where they had a case in Cobb County. For these reasons, Your Honor, the state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond, a stay away order at the 550 Abernathy Road address, no further contact with Jose Herrera, and a 1-day anger awareness course, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. And I would like to sound for Mr. Herrera if he's on the Zoom.
It appears that good afternoon, Mr. Herrera.
Or good afternoon, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine, Mr. Herrera. Let's see. If you would like to address the court, you of course do not have to, but if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me and I'll have to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, sir. What would you like to tell the court?
Yeah, so I was able to, as they mentioned, speak to the solicitor this morning. We do have a 9-month-old son in the house. I also did state to the solicitor that at this time and just in general, I don't feel that that Mrs. Herrera is a physical threat personally to me. I know that there's been a lot going on since the birth of our son, dealing with postpartum depression that was diagnosed. She's been doing therapy, weekly therapy sessions since I believe around end of July, August timeframe. She was also put on prescription and medication to address the depression as well, which I'm assuming that she has been taking daily along with the therapy. She is breastfeeding our son, so that is one of the concerns for me with him being 9 months old and the attachment to the mother. As far as it goes and relates to her being in the home, I like I said, I feel that I'm comfortable and okay with her coming back to the home, especially with our son being here. We both work full time. She's gainfully employed in the operations and logistics space, and I'm gainfully employed in the cybersecurity space. So we both do work, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatnot. We do have a nanny that is coming during the week to assist us. But it's one person. So We're kind of limited to, if she comes down with any illnesses or sicknesses or anything like that, then the responsibility would fall under myself, to manage the day-to-day of our son, which I'm fine doing. But I think from just our son's development perspective, obviously Mrs. Herrera, did some things out of anger and emotion that kind of escalated to the point where I didn't necessarily want to call the police. But I felt that I was put in a position where I almost had to, due to the situation. So I told the police, I just wanted the situation to kind of be diffused, but given, what they had seen and witnessed and obviously what had transpired, that there was a legal obligation for them to action on the situation. So that's what led to Mrs. Herrera being arrested. As far as the release, I don't know. I know I discussed with the solicitor 2 types of bonds. I know that financially, we're in a position right now where, like I said, we have the 9-month-old and bills and all that. So if there's, I think it was called a signature bond that she would sign for her, that you would offer or grant release on her own signature. And then obviously there would be additional guidelines that you would impose. But as far as the no contact and the avoiding of the address, I'm okay with those both being waived, given that we have our son here.
Okay, and Mr. Herrera, from what I hear, you're not, you want her back in the household and you're not afraid of her.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not afraid of her.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Ms. Holly?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Herrera covered quite a bit of what I was going to talk about. I'd also like to point out that the parties are married. So they do have a marital relationship, and Jace, their 9-month-old son, as mentioned, she is still breastfeeding him. So I do think logistically, a no further violent contact would suffice. Of course, she's happy to go forward with an anger management class if the court thinks that that's necessary as a starting point for her as a condition on bond. I do believe that there's more to this situation, but I believe it'll be litigated down the line. We would ask for the court to consider what Mr. Herrera requested in light of their financial situation and the situation with their child. Ask for a signature bond with conditions and a no further violent contact, and that she may return to their home.
It's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Herrera, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Ms. Herrera and Mr. Herrera.
Thank you. I have one quick question. Obviously trying to understand the process and next steps. What does that mean for a signature bond? Does she now go through the paperwork process and then signs off on the paperwork and is released on her own, or is there a time frame? What does that look like?
That's correct. As soon as we're done with court today, I will get these orders signed. We'll get them to the jail, and the jail will begin processing her out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a good afternoon, sir.
Yep, you too.
Next, Your Honor, we have position number 7, Ms. McGowan. Asia McGowan.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. McGowan. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Judge. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, ma'am. You've been charged in case 23 CR 001480C with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest. 2022 suspended license. Please recommend.
Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday afternoon at approximately noon. And this is where the incident happened at 3207 Alexander Circle, Atlanta. And this is where the defendant refused to answer the door while deputies were attempting to perform an eviction. The defendant was told several times that the deputies were at the location. However, she refused to answer the door. And so officers had to enter the unit using a battering ram. And for this, Your Honor, the state is asking for a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
So the obstruction is because she wouldn't open the door?
Yes.
And she wasn't charged with anything else?
No, that is all she was charged with, Your Honor.
And it was her house?
Her apartment.
Okay, it's gonna be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Is that fine with you, Ms. Holly?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
All right, good luck to you, Ms. McGowan.
Next, Your Honor, we have position number 3, Mr. Matthew Flowers, position number 3.
Okay, and Lawrence, I believe we, on position number 13, we have a private attorney present. Could we take that after we take Mr. Flowers here? Is that possible?
Yeah, who's 13? We can take Mr. Rush now.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Dixon. This is your case?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Judge. Pleasure seeing you today.
You also. Let's see. Good afternoon, Mr. Rush. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Rush, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001476E with battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second arrest, 2013 obstruction, dismissed.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on March 12th at 6015 Felwood Road, which is Banneker High School. In this case, the defendant slammed Cordarius, and that first name is spelled Cordarrius, Alexander, on a chair in the classroom, resulting in bruising to the upper torso of Mr. Alexander. The warrant was limited on the information, but we're assuming that Mr. Rush may be a teacher at the high school given his age difference from him and Mr. Alexander. And for these reasons, the state will be recommending a $4,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, to stay away from this location, no further contact with Mr. Alexander, and no unsupervised contact with any minor under 18 years old. Nothing further.
Yes, Mr. Dixon.
Yes, Your Honor. Before the court is Mr. Eddie Rush. Mr. Rush is 36 years old, and he's a lifelong Georgia resident residing in the metro area. Mr. Rush resides at 300 Shadow Glen in McDonough, Georgia. He has resided at that address for at least the last 10 years. Mr. Rush has been gainfully employed as an educator and baseball coach for the last 7 years, and he also owns a successful production company with his parents, who are present here today in support of Eddie here on the Zoom. Mr. Rush, up until this incident, Judge, was employed as a paraprofessional at Banneker High School, where he worked with the at-risk youth there. This was an incident where a student tried to attack him, Judge, and my client simply just restrained the young man in his seat, Judge. We have not seen any evidence from the resource officer of any bruising or anything of that nature, Judge. Since this incident, he has been relieved of his duties at Banneker High School, so he is no longer there with access to the student or the location, Judge. Mr. Rush can demonstrate significant ties to the community. This is his first arrest of this nature. He's not a threat or danger to the community. And it's very low that he'll commit any further offenses while out on bond. Mr. Rush turned himself in voluntarily to the Fulton County Jail last night. He's not a flight risk. He's already retained private counsel. He's eager to get back in the court to defend himself on these charges. He is a baseball coach, and he still coaches baseball at Morrow High School, Judge. For those reasons, we're going to ask that he qualifies for UJR. We're requesting a $5,000 pretrial bond, Judge. Signature bond.
Okay. Anything further, Ms. Lewis?
Nothing. Well, Your Honor, I'd like to sound for the victim, but I don't believe he's on the call, but I would like to sound for him just in case.
If Mr. Alexander is on the line and would like to address the court, this is the opportunity to do so. Does not appear so, Ms. Lewis. As such, it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from Bannister High School. No further contact with Mr. Alexander, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Rush.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, you have a good afternoon. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And I see that the Rush parents are here also. I appreciate you being here. Y'all have a good afternoon as well.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 3, Mr. Flowers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Flowers. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Flowers, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001471E with criminal trespass and damage to property. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
He got a open forgery 3rd degree out of DeKalb County. 2023 tampering with evidence. 2020 tampering with evidence conviction. 2016 possession of drug paraphernalia. Theft by shoplifting conviction. 2017 failure to appear trespass conviction. That's it.
All right, Ms. Bickerstaff.
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday at about 5:55 a.m. at 651 Moreland Avenue Southeast. And this is where officers arrived on scene and they spoke with a Mr. Federico Garcia, who is an employee of DJ Mortgage. Mr. Garcia informed officers that someone had broken the front doorknob to the house and refused to leave the premises when asked. The officers, Mr. Garcia and officers observed that the front, back, and upstairs bedroom doorknobs were all damaged, as well as the outer side of the front door. The damage was valued at $500 or less, and the state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond, a stay away order at 651 Moreland Avenue Southeast, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Ms. Holly?
Yes, Judge. So we understand that the nature of the allegations is a little bit strange. There's no description of how the doorknobs were damaged. Mr. Flowers, this is actually the home that he grew up in as a child, and his aunt and uncle are renting the house, and he actually has keys to the house as well as a rental agreement. And those are in his backpack at this time. With that being said, I don't understand the nature of the damage. All it says is that they were damaged. It doesn't say that they were broken or scratched. We would ask, considering all of that, and with the possibility that this is actually a home he has the right to be in, that he be given a signature bond with whatever conditions the court feels are necessary.
So what you're telling me, Ms. Holly, is that Moreland Avenue address is actually Mr. Flowers's residence that he is renting to some relatives?
His aunt and uncle have rented it for him.
Oh, they've rented it, to someone else, not to the aunt and uncle.
So the aunt and uncle paid for the rental for Mr. Flowers to stay there, and the keys were shipped to their house. He picked the keys up from them and actually went in the house on his own because he's supposed to be renting it.
Oh, he lives at the Moreland Avenue address.
Correct.
And who is this Frederick Garcia?
That is some type of person who seems to be doing work on the house. It's not clear who this person is to me.
Okay.
They do not, this is not the owner of the home.
Ms. Bickerstaff, was your office able to speak with Mr. Garcia?
We were not able to speak with Mr. Garcia. It's just in the police report that Mr. Garcia is an employee of the DJ Mortgage, and and that's the mortgage company who the house is through. Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, it's gonna be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. If this is Mr. Flowers' residence, I don't know why he shouldn't be allowed to be there. So no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Flowers.
I'm sorry, Judge. What was that bond?
$2,000 signature bond through the jail.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Petition 4, Mr. Glass.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Glass. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Glass, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001477B with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
This fourth arrest, yeah, the 2020 trespass that was dismissed. That's a
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred January 17th, 2023, where officers arrived at 3450 Forest Park Road Southeast, apartment 2103, in response to a dispute with Ms. Cody Tyus, who Ms. Tyus stated that she went to the location to collect her belongings and the defendant was present there. She had lived there, but she was not living there at the time. She was only there to get some of her things. And while there, the defendant charged at her. So she grabbed a knife because the defendant is bigger than her. And she told him not to come near her. Regardless of her saying that, the defendant still attacked her, and officers noted that Ms. Tyus had a visible injury to her lip. For this reason, Your Honor, the state is asking for a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Ms. Tyus, and her name is Cody Tyus. That's spelled CODEY, Tyus, TYUS. A one-day anger awareness course, a one-time escort for Ms. Tyus to gather all of her belongings, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
I don't think I can order a one-time escort for Ms. Tyus.
Okay.
So does she need to?
Neither, if I can clarify, Judge, neither of
Yes.
them resides at this location anymore, so there shouldn't be any reason for either of them to return to the address.
Okay, all right, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Holly.
Yes, so this happened in January, and Mr. Glass was not there at the time. I think something that was left out of the police report is that Ms. Tyus actually stabbed him with the knife, and he was not on location because he went to the hospital. He received 2 staples in his chest at Wellstar, as well as treatment to a cut to his hand as well. So at this time, I believe that this was a case of self-defense where she came at him with the knife because she did not want him to kick her out. However, they have both left the residence. We would ask for a signature bond on this. I'd also point out that Mr. Glass did not know about this warrant. He was not informed that the police had been called. And as soon as he found out about this warrant, he immediately turned himself in over the weekend. So he's not a flight risk at all. He wants to get this case handled immediately. He does have medical records that support that he was stabbed. So we would just ask for a signature bond and whatever conditions the court wants to implement. Like I said, he has a new residence and has no reason to see her. So we're fine with stay away as well as no contact.
It's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail, no further contact with Ms. Tyus, given the representation that he doesn't need to go to the Forest Park Road address, stay away from that address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Glass.
Thank you. Your Honor,
Yes.
can I give Ms. Holly a call for position number 6? Mr. Hood, she needs to speak with him. He was in felony court and he just came over to misdemeanor court.
Okay, so
If y'all want to do some of Attorney Kim's cases, I can answer my phone and speak with him. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
that sounds great.
thank you.
Position 10 and 11, Mr. Patterson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Patterson. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001470D with criminal trespass and damage to property, and in case 23 CR 001472D with simple battery, family violence, and criminal trespass, family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
second arrest, 2019 suspended license.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes, Your Honor. So I'm going to recite the facts for the 472D offense first because that's the first date, or that's the earlier date.
Okay.
On 5/21/22 at 2330 Arbor Gates Drive is where officers responded to a domestic dispute call and spoke with Lafayette Antones. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is spelled Lafayette. Last name is Antones. The victim stated that her husband was upset because she confronted him about his involvement with another woman. The victim stated that when she and the defendant got home, the argument continued, and then the defendant got physical with her by grabbing her by the neck with both of his hands, and he also pushed her to the ground several times, causing her to hurt her right arm. The defendant then started throwing glasses and furniture around the house, and he also broke the victim's cell phone by throwing it in the toilet. Fast forward to this year, on March 13th, the officers responded to her new location of 6851 Roswell Road, apartment I-19. The defendant and the victim have since been legally separated. The defendant came over to the address at on this date and threw rocks, breaking the glass of her apartment window, Your Honor. For these reasons, the state is recommending a total $3,000 surety bond. That'll be $2,000 on the simple battery count, $1,000 for both criminal trespass counts, to total $3,000 to stay away from the 6851 Roswell Road, apartment I-9, no further contact, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1 day of anger awareness. Nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Kim.
Yes, Mr. Kevin Patterson is 37 years old, and he came from California about 5 years ago. He's gainfully employed. He's self-employed as a DoorDash, Lyft, and Uber. He has a bachelor's degree from the University of Memphis, Tennessee. Your Honor, for the sake of the record, he is not qualified for public defender services, so he has to hire a private attorney after his release. My representation will end at the end of the bond hearing. We would like to request for signature on bond since this is his first violence offense. And Lafayette Antones, my client is okay with no further contact and stay away. Thank you.
Okay, so in position number 11, for the simple battery, a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. For the criminal trespass, a $1,000 signature bond through the jail, making for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Antones, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. For position number 10, the criminal trespass and damage to property charge, a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Antones, and stay away from the 6851 Roswell Road, apartment I-9 address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond for either case. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Patterson.
Can I verify the first address that he has to stay away? The first case is.
I don't think she lives there anymore, Ms. Kim, right?
No, that's why I just checked.
Okay, he only had to stay away from the Roswell Road address.
Okay.
Do you need that first address for any other reason?
No, I have it, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, thank you. Who do we have next?
Position 15, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you really have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Mr. Williams, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001481A with 2 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
He got over 30 arrests. Last arrest in Georgia was back in August. Out of Gwinnett, cruelty in the 2nd degree that appears to be open. 2016 fleeing an officer, suspended license. 2016 probation for suspended license. 2016 trespass, he pled NOLO. One minute, Judge, 1 moment. Yeah. Hold hold on. Just check your chat.
Okay,
2011 probation violation for those charges. He got out-of-state history as well. I'll leave it at that.
okay, Ms. Lewis.
Your Honor, I just want to add something to the history. This defendant also has a 2011 battery family violence, which he pled nolo to, that involved this same victim out of Clayton County. So this incident occurred November 11th, 2022 at 2452 Morosco Way Northeast. Officers responded to a domestic dispute call at this location, and it is to note that the initial call came from 2399 Piedmont Road, but officers were unable to locate the victims because they were in fear of their safety. So the victim, Bennett, who was 15 years old, stated that her father was using meth and drinking wine while driving her and her mother when this altercation ensued. Bennett stated that she was in the passenger seat when the defendant almost ran into a gas pump, so she jerked the wheel to prevent the collision. She then put the car in park, and the defendant became upset and hit her in the face, leaving a visible laceration next to her right eye. Bennett stated that she and her mother attempted to leave the defendant at the gas station, but they were unsuccessful because he wouldn't allow them to, and they had to spend the night with him there. The next day, while driving, the defendant became upset again about the previous day's events and turned around and hit Bennett once again, who was now seated in the back seat of the vehicle. Officers observed bruising to Bennett's lips. Bennett stated that the defendant also dragged her out of the vehicle, and in response, she pepper sprayed the defendant. Bennett's mother got out of the car to check on her, and the defendant drove off, leaving them. Your Honor, the state is very concerned given the fact that this is a father continuously hitting his minor daughter. Also, given the fact that he's already been convicted of family violence in 2011 in Clayton County against this victim. For these reasons, the state will be recommending a $10,000 surety bond. That'll be $5,000 on each count. No further contact, to stay away from wherever the victim resides, as well as wherever she attends school, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And I'll be happy to put her address in the chat to whoever the court reporter is today.
Ms. Bridgewater, Ms. Bridgewater is the litigation manager, so if you could just put it into the chat, I guess, to Ms. Bridgewater. Also, what did you, is Bennett a minor?
Bennett is a minor. She's 15 years old.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Williams is 41 years old, Your Honor. And this happened on November 11, 2022. They are residentially challenged at this point. Actually, 3 of them used to live in a car, and now grandmothers who is very ill, they have to support. She's residing at the hotel, and couple are residing at the car, and daughter was able to find a place at friend's house. So this happened out of frustration, and my client would like to well, he was actually crying for this incident, and we would like to consider that they have reconciled. They are in good terms right now. So we want the no further violent contact between daughter and father, since there has been ample time of cooling off period where they have forgiven each other. And they are working really hard at Amazon and Amazon Flex as a couple, and they are saving up money to get a small place so that they can live together. We would like to request for a signature on bond so they can actually get the place instead of paying for the bond they've saved so long. Thank you.
So Ms. Kim, I don't know who all's in the family. I know we've got Mr. Williams, who's apparently the father of minor Bennett. is there anybody else that is in the family that you know of?
Wife, he has a wife. And
Okay.
he has a wife's mother who he is taking care, they have to take care of him.
And
Or
where is the wife right now?
at the car, they are residing at the car.
And
We
Miss
do have
Lewis,
a- Sorry,
Oh.
just go ahead.
no, and you were telling me about a previous incident was it Clayton County?
Yes, sir. That was in 2011 with the same victim.
And I take it that no one has either spoken with the wife or to the minor?
No, I was not able to reach her.
But I did have an address per the police report, which is what I put in the chat to Ms. Bridgewater.
Thank you.
Okay. So until someone speaks to the minor, then there's going to be no further contact. So it's going to be a $2,000 good bond for each charge, making for a total of a $4,000 good bond. No further contact at this point in time with the minor Bennett. Stay away from wherever she's residing, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Ms. Lewis, let me go back to Mr. Williams, because that doesn't make any sense now that you said there was a 2011 and the child's only 15. So how could there have been a previous battery family violence against the same victim?
I called the Clayton County solicitor this morning and asked about that case, and that was the name they gave me.
Okay, but that doesn't make any sense, does it?
Let's see.
That's my way.
Okay, all right.
She would have been 5 in 2011, I believe, correct? If my math is correct, because I believe she was born.
He's already answered. He answered the question for me.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the
all
police
right.
report, excuse me, the police report lists 2 different Elizabeths.
Okay, so, well, I understand that the wife was in the car and that the daughter was in the car.
So I think for, logic's sake, it looks like the prior assault is against the wife, Elizabeth, and we have a prior cruelty in the 2nd-degree arrest. That is an open case that we just heard about in Gwinnett County. I'm guessing that's dealing with Elizabeth, the daughter, and the mother. It sounds like this is a family unit. So there are going to
Okay.
be multiple victims in these cases.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So that's all with Mr. Williams. Thank you.
So it's still a $4,000 good bond, Your Honor?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, you have position number 8, Mr. Adrian Mitchell.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mitchell. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing today?
Thank you. Doing well. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mitchell, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001482J with simple battery. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Yes, second arrest, 2022 obstruction. He went to felony earlier. That's a $40,000 good bond that he received there.
What
That's
charge?
Burglary and theft by taking.
Okay. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred February 18th, 2023, where officers arrived at 3450 Forest Park Road, apartment 4204, in response to a dispute in where the defendant was upset that his mother, Miss Erica Lowe, would not return his firearms that she took from his car. Ms. Lowe told officers that the defendant was on the run from the police in another agency for stealing a Porsche. During this dispute with his mother, the defendant went to his car, he grabbed another firearm and he held it at his side, and he continued to yell and curse out his mother. And so Adrian Mitchell, who is the defendant's sister, she came outside to intervene in the dispute and in an effort to calm them down. And that's when the defendant punched Miss Mitchell in the face while she was holding a 1-year-old at the time. And so for these reasons, Your Honor, we are asking for a $3,500 surety bond, a stay away order at the address of 3450 Forest Park Road, apartment 4204. We're asking for no further contact with Miss Adrian Mitchell. We're also asking that the defendant relinquishes all firearms to the police, and a 1-day anger awareness course, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond, Your Honor. And that's it.
May I clarify something?
Yes,
Is
Ms. Holly.
his sister's name the same as his name? Both of
It's
their
spelled
names?
differently.
Yes, that's my name.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
It's spelled differently.
okay, I see that now. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And I would like to sound for Miss Adrian.
Appears that she's here, so.
Yeah.
Let's see, Miss Mitchell, Miss Holly, would you like me for me to speak with Miss Mitchell first?
Yes, please.
Ms. Mitchell, this is your opportunity to address the court if you choose to. You do not have to, but if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand and I'll have to swear you in, okay?
Okay.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I really don't really have nothing to say, but I didn't press any charges or anything like that. When the cruelty to children, the other domestic violence, I didn't press charges for neither one of those. So that's all I wanted to say. I don't really have nothing else to say. And he wasn't one at the time either. He was only 8 months.
Okay, so you heard what, I'm not sure if you did or not, but were you on the line when Ms. Bickerstaff, who is with the solicitor's office, gave the recitation of these charges?
Yeah.
And did you agree with what she said?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you. Ms. Holly?
Yes, Judge. As stated, Mr. Mitchell does have also the pending felony, but he does have no other prior criminal history other than the one obstruction case. So he has no violent history in the past. As Ms. Mitchell stated, she is not interested in pressing these charges. We would ask for a signature bond with conditions like anger management so that he can, if he can get out, then he will do anger management. And we would request, since this is family, no further violent contact.
Your Honor, I would just like to add that Ms. Mitchell, she did speak to our victim advocate today, and she said that this was not the first time that something like this has happened, and that she also told our victim advocate that she doesn't wish to have any physical contact with the defendant.
No, I think she got that wrong. She asked me, has he been violent before? And I said, no, he hasn't. I said this was the first time.
Okay, who lives at the?
I think she misunderstood a little bit, but yeah, I told her it hasn't been nothing like this before. This is only the first time that it has happened, and I also told her that I just didn't want no more contact with, no, I don't want to be around him physically.
Okay. Who lives at the Forest Park Road address, 4204 address? Ms. Mitchell?
My mom.
Your mother does?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything further? Ms. Holly, Ms. Bickerstaff?
No,
further.
All right, it's gonna be a $2,000 good bond, no further contact with Adrian Mitchell or Ms. Erica Lowe at this point in time. Stay away from the Forest Park Road address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out. All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Mitchell. And who do we have next?
Position 6.
Okay, this is Marquez Hood. Good afternoon, Mr. Hood. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hood, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001478C with battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
23 total. Open case out of the cab, giving false names. Open case in Superior Court, possession of cocaine with intent. 22 CP 211955. On probation, possession of tools, participation in criminal street gang activity, burglary 2 counts, and theft by taking. That's in Rockdale County. 2015, they gave him 4 years to serve and then 6 years probation. Got a 17 SC 155325, 4 counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, 2 counts of influencing a witness, ag battery, ag assault, deadly weapon, burglary 1st degree, possession of a firearm by convicted felon, and simple battery. He's on probation in Fulton for that. 2017, they gave him 2 years to serve, 8 years probated. You want more?
You're fine. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened December 16th, 2022 at 322 Windsor Street. And this is where officers arrived to the location in response to a dispute over personal property, where the defendant wanted some of his items back from Miss Jade Brown. Miss Brown informed officers that because she was not agreeing with the defendant's demand to get back his personal property, he proceeded to punch her in the face and he dragged her on the ground. And officers observed a cut and swelling to her upper lip. The two lived together at the time. And for these reasons, Your Honor, the state is asking for a $5,000 surety bond. We're asking for a stay away order at the 322 Windsor Street address, no further contact with Miss Jade Brown, a 1-day anger awareness course, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Yes, Your Honor, he does not have any issues with any of those conditions. They don't have contact anymore and haven't had contact for some time. He wasn't aware that this warrant had been taken out, and I don't believe he was present when the officers got there. He was first arrested on this charge just now, obviously. He does have a 5-year-old daughter who lives with him and his mom, who he supports. He is a dishwasher and he has a good job working at August as a dishwasher. He makes good money. We would ask for a $1,000 surety bond so that he can get out, continue working and supporting his family while he works on these charges.
All right, it's going to be $1,000 good bond, no further contact with Jade Brown, stay away from the Windsor Street address, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Hood.
I'll tell you.
They told us those 2 waivers. We got 2 waivers.
Yes. Judge, we have 2 waivers, position 12. Ray.
Okay.
And position 1, Bradley.
Okay, very good.
Courtroom 2.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good afternoon. Let's see, let's go to position number 1, Kimberly Bradley, who's charged with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
26 total. She has a 07 arrest at another state. That's for shoplifting. I think it's New Jersey. Before that was 2021, possession of a Schedule 2 controlled substance, possession of drug-related object, misdemeanor possession of marijuana. That was out of Fulton County. 2021 trespass conviction, 2021 failure to appear, 2021 trespass and obstruction arrest, 2021 theft by taking, financial transaction card fraud. 2021 shoplifting conviction. 2019 failure to appear. Possession of MDMA, possession of marijuana, possession of a 3, 4, or 5 controlled substance. 2018 failure to appear. You want me to keep going?
You're good. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. So this incident occurred March 12th at approximately 12:18 in the afternoon at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell. It's the Economy Hotel. And this is where officers arrived to the location and they spoke with an employee named Mr. Jared Brown, who stated he saw the defendant during his room checkout checks, leaving one of the hotel rooms, specifically room 244. And Mr. Brown informed police that when the defendant saw him, she proceeded to run. However, Mr. Brown was able to catch her and he held her until the police arrived. And officers had just issued a criminal trespassing warning to the defendant earlier that day at the same hotel, which was an extension to the previous trespass warning from September 23rd, 2021, Your Honor. For these reasons, we are asking for a $1,000 surety bond, a stay away order at the Economy Hotel, addressed at 9995 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Yes, Judge. Miss Bradley was, the reason she returned to the hotel was to get paperwork that she had at the hotel that was going to help her go to rehab. So that is her intention. When I spoke with her, we would just ask for a signature bond so she can get to rehab. She's looking at going to another option in Lawrenceville.
All right, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Economy Hotel, Old Dogwood Road. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And I think the final case is position number 12 with Mr. Ray. Does Mr. Ray have a history?
This is a 4th adult arrest. I think he's been here for quite some time. His last cycle was back in October for PI and unauthorized possession of prohibited item by an inmate. Before that was another October cycle, simple battery, riot in penal institution, not presented to grand jury. He was arrested March of last year for ag assault. And he got failure to appear from 2020. Armed robbery, partaking in criminal street gang activity, ag assault with an object, another partaking criminal street gang, ag assault with intent to rob, hijacking motor vehicle, entering auto, more ag assaults, this time on law enforcement, felony obstruction, possession of a firearm during a commission.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard. Ms. Lewis, this happened while he was incarcerated?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can proceed.
Your Honor,
So-
I requested for breakout room for image issue for this one.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Kim, Ms. Allen, Ms. Bridgewater, myself, anyone else need to be in the breakout room? Okay, you can put us in the breakout room, please. Okay, so for that position, just so that everyone knows, it was a waiver. It's going to be a $7,500 good bond, a mental health evaluation, and no further harassing contact with the involved detention officer. Okay, that concludes the calendar for this afternoon. Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is going to be March the 28th. Now, are we going to put him on the competency calendar, Judge? That last case, or?
Yes, I think, yes, he should go on the
Okay.
competency calendar.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what that date is going to be, the 30th. Okay. All right, position number 1 is reset further notice with the $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 2, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 3, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 4, reset further notice, $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 5, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 6 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 7, reset further notice with the $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position number 8, reset to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. Position 9 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through the jail. Position 10, reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 11, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 12 is going to the competency calendar, which is going to be March 30th with a $7,500 good bond. 13, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through the jail. Position 14 is reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. And position 15 is reset to the SAP calendar with a $4,000 total good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections?
Your Honor, just briefly, I wanted to give you guys and Ms. Holly, I believe, information on number 3, Mr. Flowers. This was the case with the DJ mortgage people coming into the home and noticing damage.
Yes.
I just looked up Zillow as well as Fulton County Taxes and the Board of Assessors. DJ Mortgage is the owner of that property on all of these documents, and the house is currently listed for rent. Mr. Flowers' address on his citation is an address in Riverdale, Georgia. So the information provided by Ms. Holly, although recitation of the facts from the defense is not contained in our warrants or any of our documentation, although I do acknowledge our warrants and documentation are limited for this calendar.
Okay, so
Thank
Ms. Holly?
I mean, I would argue that that just shows that the house is actually a rental, which is what his statement was.
It also shows that he didn't list that address as his address and that neither he nor anyone in his family owned that property.
I don't
And so
believe he's the one.
before anybody makes any arguments about whether someone should or shouldn't be there, we should look at the sworn out warrants and the documentation that we have that's objective that lean towards this gentleman not having rightful ownership or possession of that home. And of course, we'll look at more information later. We're at a very early stage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I understand that. Generally, in my experience, it's not the client who writes their information on the citation. Usually the officer just takes their license and writes whatever address is on their license. So I wouldn't be surprised if, especially if he just was intending to move there, if he hadn't updated that. But
Maybe the
that's all
people who own that
completely
property
conjecture
should
on
know
my
about
part.
it. The people who own that property didn't think he was supposed to be there. They're the ones that alerted police.
No, and I understand that. That's why he's charged.
Okay, so anything further on Mr. Flowers? Okay, thank you all. Y'all have a good rest of the day.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you.